Legislator Morris, I just want to make sure you can hear us.
Yes, I can.
And the interpreter, I just want to make sure you can hear us. Perfect.
The August 8th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer is present. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Delahaney. Mr. Delahaney is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. President Lamar. President Lamar is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris.
Present.
Mr. Morris is present. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Ms. Vecchio is on the way. And Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Please stay seated. I would like to introduce Don Bolt, Senior Pastor of Henrietta Christian Fellowship, who has been invited by Legislator Delvecchio Hoffman to lead us in a moment of prayer.
It's an honor to be here today. And as I pray for you, please understand that my connection with Ukraine is long standing and very deep. And so anytime praying for anybody, somewhere in my heart, I'm praying for them as well. So Spirit of the living God, come. Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence on you. So we invite your Holy Spirit, your very presence, to be here among us as our legislators gather to deliberate and decide the laws and policies that will affect the lives of all who live in Monroe County. You promised to be a very present help in a time of need. So we ask you to guide their thoughts, speak wisdom to their hearts, and remind all of us that this life is not all there is. One day we will appear before you and give an account for the life that we live and the decisions we make. Help every one of our elected representatives to conduct business at hand in a way that will give them confidence on that day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please stand while the Legislator leads us in the pledge of allegiance. Your copies of Day 7, July 11th, 2023 are available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Novus Agenda as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk?
Would Michael Slattery please come forward? Also, Legislator Tracy DeFlorio and President Sabrina Lamar.
Whereas on May 9th, 2023, Michael Slattery began Michael's Charity Ride, a 21-day and 1,233-mile bicycle journey from Rochester, New York to Florida. And whereas Michael's Charity Ride raised money for Honor Flight Rochester, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the Pirate Toy Fund. Each of these organizations are recognized as being amongst the best in our area, providing travel opportunities for veterans, health and safety for children, and fun for underprivileged kids. And whereas Michael's charity ride included bumps along the way, including an emergency room visit, a month's worth of rain in 2 days, and missing the birth of his grandson, but nevertheless, he persisted and was able to finish the trek, raising over $8,000 for each of the charities he had dedicated the ride to. And whereas Michael's charity ride provided awareness and funding for important organizations for special populations in Monroe County, and Michael Slattery's dedication on his 1,233-mile mission is hereby rightfully recognized. Now, therefore, we, Sabrina Lamar, President, and Tracy DeFlorio, Legislator District 3, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Michael Slattery on completing Michael's charity ride for Honor Flight Rochester, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the Pirate Toy Fund.
Oh, come on. It was just a bicycle ride. I just want to say first, thank you to the president and to Tracy DeFlorio for the privilege and the honor to be here. I have with me. I said I wasn't going to do this. It was a very emotional ride. I have Otto Harnisch-Figure, the executive director from the Pirate Toy Fund with me. Dan Agnew, he did a lot of the videos. If you go on to Michael's charity ride, and I'll leave these with the clerk so you can take a look at it, but you go on YouTube, we got a number of videos. And then also my wife, Pauline. I was truly blessed. And there was a lot of, as was mentioned, we had an emergency visit. We met with the Rochester veterans. I know County Exec Bello. I've seen you at the airport with Honor Flight when they arrived. They actually have another flight that's going to be leaving and coming back September 9th and 10th. So if you get an opportunity to go to the airport and see the veterans when they come back, it's a life-changing event. When I met with them in Washington, there wasn't a dry eye at one point with all the veterans for what they go through and all the things they hold inside. Pirate Toy Fund, if you're not familiar with them, we collect and distribute toys year-round to underprivileged kids. We program with the county at the Blue Cross Arena at the War Memorial for Frank Alcoffer for our veterans. And we do a program with Monroe County. They mail out over 3,500 letters to underprivileged families. They come in, they get a toy, they do a program, they get activities, they see Santa. It's a great thing for our community. The kids that didn't ask to be put in that position of hardship, but they were able to have a little smile that day. Then also NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Rochester is unique. The National Center has 4 offices: Rochester, Washington, Florida, and Texas. Rochester has an office here that if you don't know about, they do a lot of great things for missing and exploited children that are abused. We have a big bicycle ride. It's a 100-mile ride that we do all in one day. And we're going to be going into the city schools, Gates, Chili, Hilton, Spencerport, and Irondequoit this year on that ride. And so I just want to reach out. I saw the undersheriff here and some of the brave men and women that are here. The Rochester Police, Monroe County Sheriff's Department, State Police, and some of the suburban law enforcement departments give us an escort that 100 miles that we do in one day. So if you see us, cheer us on. We'll be stopping at the schools. But if you can, just check out YouTube for the videos that were there. And then you'll actually, in the audience tonight is Alexis Arnold, who used to be with Channel 13. There's a great video with Alexis and I on the website as well. So I just want to say thank you. God bless you. I'm truly blessed to be able to do this. Thank you.
Ask the legislature to hold a series of public hearings, but we cannot start until 6:15. So please bear with us. Thank you. I now declare open the public hearing on amending local law number 3 of 2016 entitled authorizing a lease with Galena. Right. Apparently I skipped one. I now declare open the public hearing on amending local law number 4 of 2010 entitled enacting a law authorizing an amendment to lease by negotiation from Galena Development Corp. To use and occupy space at 2330 Union Street, Town of Ogden, New York.
Well, there were no public hearing speakers registered for this.
There being none, I now declare this public hearing closed. Now I declare open the public hearing on amending local law number 3 of 2016 entitled authorizing a lease with Galena Development Corp. To use and occupy space at Panorama Landing, Town of Pittsburgh, New York.
There were no speakers registered for this public hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the August 8th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. Tonight, we are joined by Hillary Olson, President and CEO of the Rochester Museum and Science Center, who will be making a presentation to the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I know that I have 10 minutes. I'm going to try to do it in 6. My name is Hillary Olson. I'm the president and CEO of the RMSC, and I thank you for the opportunity to share with you what the work of the RMSC has been over the last year to serve the community. I'd like to thank the Monroe County Legislature for its longstanding support of the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and let you know that funding from Monroe County allows us to bring science, natural history, and cultural history to life for hundreds of thousands of visitors per year, about 80% of whom reside in Monroe County. There are 1.2 million objects in the RMSC collection that tell the story of Rochester's scientific, natural history, and cultural history. And those collections are held in trust by RMSC, kept safe, and preserved for the people of Monroe County. The RMSC is Monroe County's largest natural history museum, cultural history museum, you've probably all heard me say this, and science center. And it's the only major science or the only major public planetarium in the region. In 1968, Monroe County accepted responsibility from the city of Rochester to support the collections and operations of the Rochester Museum and Science Center. And I'd like to remind the legislature of that fact. Since I last spoke with the legislature, a great deal has happened at the RMSC. We opened an exhibit gallery called The Wonders of Water, our first new large-scale exhibition in over 10 years, allowing visitors to explore waterways of the Erie Canal, Lake Ontario, and the Genesee River, while learning about the cultural history of Monroe County's waterways in a hands-on and interactive environment. We opened an exhibition called Same Sky, Varied Views, and it's about differing cultural views of sky watching that are not Indo-European. And you might have read about this in the Democrat and Chronicle yesterday or listened on WXXI, we are repatriating human remains. Those human remains have been in the RMSC collection, over 1,000 of them, since about 1928. Some of them collected between 1928 and the mid-1970s. And we never should have taken them in the first place, but it was common practice for archaeologists of the time to dig up human remains, dig up funerary objects, and put them on display in museums. We have not displayed any human remains since 1972, but in the last 2 years, we have put a great deal of operating dollars, right now up to about 150,000. And yesterday we found out that we got a grant for another 100,000 to be able to do the work to repatriate those ancestors to the Native American communities where they belong. If you hear more about it and you want more answers, we're a little cagey in the answers department because we are following the lead of the people whom we're repatriating the ancestors to. The Oneida, which is what you may have seen in the paper the other day, the Oneida actually called a press conference and wanted us to talk about repatriation. And we talked about their 19 ancestors and their associated funerary objects quite openly. There are other groups, including most of the Seneca nations, that are not interested in press and not interested in us talking about it. And one of the things that they continue to mention, and we, including the county, because some of these artifacts are under the purview of Monroe County, need to remember that we should never have had them in the first place, and it's not a happy press story. It's not a good story. They shouldn't have been there. And at this point, them going home is not good on us. But it is definitely one step in repairing harm to the nations and tribes that we have harmed. Sorry. That's been a lot. The RMSC is also currently working on a 10-year strategic plan, including a campus master plan. And you know that we have about 13 acres of mostly city-owned land on East Avenue that we are looking at how we can change and reformat in order to better serve the community in who we are now and not just who we've been in the past. Many of you know that the RMSC and the Strassenberg Planetarium are one organization, but a lot of visitors don't. So we're trying to connect those buildings and connect the future again with higher technology and a higher level of customer service. The 1989 Monroe County contribution to RMSC was $1.8 million, which represented at the time 35% of the museum's operating budget. And this critical funding has declined by more than half, while the operating expense has, of course, continued to rise. Since 2023, Monroe County has given the RMSC $900,000 per year, and we are thankful for that. That represents approximately 10% of the 2023 RMSC operating budget. 35% of our current operating budget would be about $3 million. The basic care of the 1.2 million objects and artifacts, minus 1,000 ancestors, costs us roughly $2 million per year, depending on the necessary upgrades, accessions, and care that those objects and artifacts are, that is necessary to care for those objects and artifacts. That is basic care. It is not high-tech, high-quality care. It is basic. Our accrediting body is the American Alliance of Museums. This coming winter, our reaccreditation will be up for review, and the condition of the RMSC's offsite collection storage facility is expected to be an issue as it has 10 years ago in a previous reaccreditation. The existing 30,000 square foot facility was acquired in the 1980s as a temporary arrangement and does not meet modern standards for collection care. The building does not have the necessary environmental controls or other features required for securely storing and caring for the collection, and has serious condition issues, including roof leaks and pests. There are 3 bats that live in there. A new facility is desperately needed, but the resources have not been available. A solution will require community-wide support from the city of Rochester, from Monroe County, and from New York State, and from individual foundations and donors. The objects in the collection encompass Rochester's history, the cultural history of our region, global cultural history, science, natural history, innovation, technology, civil and civic rights, and more. These collections are made accessible to the Rochester community, to students, teachers, scholars, and to source communities, which is very important to us, through exhibitions, research access, online databases, object showcases, and in-person collections viewing facilitated by the RMSC team. We're excited to move forward this coming year to open a temporary exhibition on the 3rd floor of the museum entitled Survival of the Slowest, which is an exploration of animals that have adapted to their environment by being slow. The exhibit includes live animals like snakes, turtles, chameleons, an iguana, hedgehogs, and my favorite, a 2-toed sloth that every morning will snuggle me before we open to the public. We're just seeing if you're paying attention. The exhibit opens on October 13th, and we hope to see you there. RMSC continues our work to remain relevant and meaningful to the people of Monroe County, hosting events that get visitors engaged in current science like Climate Action Days and Haudenosaunee Days. Next fall, we are opening an exhibit called Haudenosaunee Continuity, Innovation, and Resilience, taking our goals of repatriation and moving them towards propatriation in order to do this. The exhibit opening fall of 24, will explore themes of Haudenosaunee cultural continuity and change, identity, sovereignty, and feature curated artistic representations of current and past Haudenosaunee artwork created by current Haudenosaunee artists. The curator for the exhibition is Jamie Jacobs, who is Tonawanda Seneca Turtle Clan. The exhibition reimagines a 2,000 square foot space on the museum's second floor, where exhibits were deinstalled in early 22 to repatriate some cultural items back to those communities of origin, which I talked about. In a typical year, RMSC serves about 400,000 visitors, including almost 90,000 students. 49,000 people engage through RMSC outreach programs in the community, and about 135 participants in our RMSC workforce development programs. We have 23 immersive permanent exhibitions, 8 of which are cultural history, 10 of which reflect science and technology, and 5 of which are a hybrid of both. All of those include our collections. Thank you again for your longstanding support. And I would like to let you know that Monroe County has provided critical and important baseline funding for all of our work since 1968. And you're an important part of the service that RMSC provides to the community. Please accept my open invitation for any of you to contact me at any time and come for a visit. If you don't know about this piece of the community and you haven't been lately, let me know. You can come and snuggle a sloth with me in the morning, starting October 13th or after. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers over here to my right. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Olivia Rich, Lawanda Japan, and Devin Reynolds.
Hello, all. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Olivia Postrich, and I'm the chair of the Rochester chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. The Guild is the nation's oldest and largest progressive bar association. Our mission is to use law for the people, uniting lawyers, law students, legal workers, and jailhouse lawyers to function as an effective force in the service of the people. We are committed to enacting structural changes to further racial and economic justice and safeguard our planet from environmental devastation. We again ask the legislature to move forward with an implementation study to take over and replace RG&E with a public utility that is affordable, community-owned, democratic, and sustainable. RG&E, despite enormous yearly profits, is failing at its responsibility of meeting our community's energy needs in an affordable and sustainable way. These failures are not just a social justice issue, but are also a racial justice issue. Almost half of Black and Latino Rochester households have a high energy burden. The public deserves the opportunity to at least explore an alternative. We again ask that the legislature allocate $1 million for an implementation study as soon as possible, and to ensure that this process includes community representation and oversight. The legislature has the money to invest in this process and should prioritize this urgent need that has widespread community support. Our current system is unsustainable and inequitable. The public will not stand idly by while these problems, including expensive bills, dangerous setoffs, and inaction on climate change worsen over time. We need our local leaders to take initiative and move forward with the study rather than waiting around for someone else to do it. The power and the money are there to move this forward, so let's get this study funded. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lawanda Shipman. I am the Vice President of the Federation of Social Workers, and I'm normally here in support of my members, but today I'm here for the community. I'm here with Rochester for Energy Democracy. We are asking that the county ledge votes to support the public implementation study. Right now, we're asking for $500,000, which is nothing compared to what money will be fueled back into our community once we have a public utility. Public utilities normally put 33% of the proceeds back into the community. I'm also here for, although I'm here for the community, but I'm also here on a more public or on a more relatable issue. I received a phone call from my mom about a week ago. She received the notice from RG&E. Now, my mother is 82 years old. She's retired. She loathes for company. She watches her Ring camera like that's her job. And she greets anybody before they hit the door, before they even ring the doorbell, she's there. She received a notice from RG&E stating that they have attempted for 34 months to assess her gas meter. No one has ever been to her home within these past 34 months. And on top of that, they're telling her that if they did not reach it by August 4th, she would be charged a $25 monthly fee. She called me and said, "Do you have an extra $25 I can borrow?" I said, "No, I have the county ledge that I'm going to talk to and let them know of the predatory things that RG&E is doing to our community." So these type of things have to stop, and the public utility will stop these things. Also, with RED, I see a lot of green shirts out here, and I know there's a lot of support for RG&E. But one of the things with RED is that current employees would not lose their job. We're not looking to outsource. I'm a union member. These jobs will be union jobs once the public utility is. I have to stop. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Dr. Michelle Wunderlich, Glenna Chance, and Katie Rigg.
Hello, legislators. It's good to be with you tonight. I'm Dr. Michelle Wenderlich with Metro Justice. Today, I want to touch on some of the benefits that a public utility can bring us, specifically as we face the energy transition and grid upgrades. As I mentioned last month, RG&E is not meeting state climate law or low income efficiency access goals, and we need a utility that will take a proactive, comprehensive approach. As we move towards electrifying more parts of our economy to reach statewide climate mandates, the grid will increasingly be the lifeline of our economy, and we're going to have to make improvements in it. In this process, RG&E currently has no incentive to think of the end cost to the consumer or to society, and has no incentive, for example, to mitigate rising gas prices. For them, fuel is a pass-through cost, while for us, we've seen fuel costs rise 180% between 2020 and 2022. In this context, they are still investing more in gas infrastructure, and they took down basically no new climate steps in their current rate plan. If you look at what is the most cost-effective and efficient way of transitioning our heat infrastructure, it's solutions like district geothermal that can often use existing gas pipes to retrofit for neighborhood scale, water-based heating and cooling. It's a much cheaper and faster transition, and it's not on the backs of individual homeowners. That saves a huge amount of money and does so in a way that's accessible to everyone. But to take on such projects, we need a utility that's aligned with community goals, not one that's trying to eke out every last bit of profit from an old and outdated system. Also in this transition, the difference of paying the public sector interest rates versus the private sector ones would be huge. Public sector rates are often half or a third of what we would pay if we're asking RG&E to borrow for us, not to mention not having to have that transition actually be profit-based. One of the largest cost savings in the Maine study on consumer-owned energy, which found cost savings of a public system would be over $9 billion over 30 years, is the difference in public sector interest rates. And as we need grid updates for safety, cybersecurity, and climate goals, a public system has the potential to actually allow our community to thrive and create new jobs and economic drivers. Don't you agree that we at least owe it to area residents to look into all the benefits we can achieve with a public system? It's time to commission an implementation study. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenna Chance, and I'm speaking as always about the dangers of smart meters, and tonight would like to relate their effects to the violence we see all around us. Violence is never an isolated event. It is the culmination of factors such as As we all know, poor nutrition, lack of positive social structure, toxic medical interventions or lack of medical care, social laxity and low expectations, environmental toxins, and many more. Have you heard of corporate violence? The legal definition of it is, it consists of business corporations causing injury or death to living beings. That includes non-human life, and it results from corporate policies and actions that expose living beings to harmful conditions, products, or substances. RGE is forcing a proven harmful product onto its customers under threat of monetary penalty. This meets the legal definition of corporate violence and is illegal. I have presented the scientific facts and figures of these dangerous meters for almost a year. The county executive and county health director need to really listen to this. Will being exposed to this biologically incompatible technology 24 hours a day with no escape be the final factor that drives a citizen over the edge to commit violence? Will you recognize it? Do not allow more violence into your lives. Just say no. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Katie Rigg, and I live in Monroe County. I'm here tonight as a member of the Rochester chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, a bipartisan group that focuses on moving policies forward that will take the biggest bite out of US emissions. First, a thank you for hiring a director of sustainability to lead the county's climate action plan. We would love to see additional investment in hiring a team to help her implement the climate action plan in a way that is maximally coordinated with the active transportation plan and the comprehensive plan. We also ask that you expedite the construction of multiple composting facilities in the county. Methane from food waste rotting in landfills is a significant contributor to New York's greenhouse gas emissions. And unlike other sectors, composting is a relatively simple solution. Build multiple local facilities, divert the food waste. The systems are already in place, we just need to expand them. While there is a cost to building these facilities, there's a much greater cost to dealing with the impacts of climate change. We've gotten a small taste of that this summer. Flash flooding in Canandaigua and the Mid-Hudson, and wildfire smoke impacting outdoor activity and productivity. We know increased fires and flooding are in our future, as well as erosion to our shores, heat waves, and the consequences of rising ocean temperatures. The known, like coral bleaching, which is underway already, and less predictable impacts on currents and sea level rise. We must do all we can now, and a powerful solution that enjoys public support is composting. At a recent tabling event, we added another 24 names to our ongoing petition asking you to build facilities. It takes virtually no time and no convincing. These people know that in addition to reducing methane and climate impacts, we will reduce odors and improve our water quality. We'll create new jobs and rich soil for our gardeners and farmers. It's a win for all. Thank you for your time and attention. And here's the petition.
Our next three speakers are Cheryl Frank, Kanika Levert. Is that? I apologize. It's not my handwriting, so I'm trying to read something else. And Joseph Sayer.
Well, I am Kanika Levert. I'm actually a retired police officer. So even though I no longer have the duty to protect and serve, I still do protect and serve. And right now I'm protecting and serving the youth. I have had the ability to volunteer at different programs at local rec centers. And it was a blast until this year when I actually saw the lunches that they get. And they don't get anything that I would think a person would want. They get the bare minimum. They get snacks as a meal. They get molded peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I know this because I sent my son without a lunch. And when I came back in, every child I talked to talked about the lunches. It's to the point where the children come up to me as a parent and ask me for money to buy them things. And I have done so. at the bare minimum of my income. And of course, I cannot do it for every child. So I am coming here to you all who actually have the ability to fund more for our city youth, because I see that many children all over the county get very good meals, but I really feel like our city youth get the bare minimum. I come from the city. I now live in Greece because the city has not offered much of anything. So me being a parent, I'm coming on behalf of them to speak for them because they cannot speak for themselves. The pastor that was here prayed for the Holy Spirit to be here. And Jesus said in his word that what you do for the least of these, you have done to him. So the least of these is the children. They should not have to come to an adult and ask them for food. They should get everything they need. I see staff members having big barbecues and feasts while the children play and have the bare minimum. I volunteered at Camp Daydreams. Those children actually had meals that I think King's children should have. So can we do the same for our city youth? Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Joe Sayer, and I'm proud to be one of the 800 RG&E employees who live and work here in Monroe County. I'm deeply concerned that the county legislator is considering spending taxpayer dollars to nationalize a private company, especially considering the good work and positive impact RG&E has on this community. Working in economic development, I see firsthand the good we do. Since 2021, we invested over $14 million to support local business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts. This funding has resulted in close to $1 billion of additional investment in our region and the creation and retention of thousands of jobs. As a 19th Ward resident, during the Christmas holiday, we were brutalized by a bad storm, leaving my neighbors and I without power. In addition, we had a water main break, leaving us without clean drinking water. The Water Authority, a government-owned utility, failed us. Power was restored in 4 hours in most cases. Access to clean drinking water took 4 days. And this is exactly what we see across the country with publicly owned or government-owned utilities. LIPA, which is a government-owned utility that would be in relation to our size, has some of the highest rates in the country and the worst customer service. They have recently contracted with a private utility because their service and their rates were so poor. While RG&E has made their mistakes and had problems over the last few years, we have seen significant improvement under the leadership of Trish Nilsson, and I would expect that improvement to continue. Please don't burden the taxpayers with the cost of a study or the billions of dollars it would cost to nationalize our power grid. Thank you.
Our last public forum speaker is Peter Teal.
Hi, my name is Peter Teal. I live in Monroe County. I am a volunteer of the Citizens Climate Lobby. First, I want to thank you, the Monroe County Legislature, for passing the Climate Action Plan and hiring a Director of Sustainability to lead it. If this feels like deja vu, it is. Asking you to hire additional staff to assemble a team to implement the Climate Action Plan, the Active Transportation Plan, and the Comprehensive Plan. Second, I want to talk about food waste. If you drive by our landfill, you can smell the rotting food. We can divert our food waste from landfills so high acres will smell better and last longer. Food waste accounts for 25% of what goes into a municipal landfill. Recycling organic waste will extend the lifespan of our landfill and save taxpayer dollars. Also, uncomposted organic waste worsens global warming. Organic waste sent to landfills is buried and sealed off from oxygen. That allows bacteria to break down the organic matter, producing methane, a very strong greenhouse gas. Landfills are responsible for 11% of global methane emissions, and wasted food accounts for 8% of the world's greenhouse gases. We can make food waste profitable by diverting it to new composting facilities, but we need to build them in our county so large businesses can comply with new food scraps laws. I am asking the county legislature to build several compost facilities, and soon. I ask that you forego the feasibility study so we can start composting as early as possible. It will create jobs, increase revenue, and we won't have to hold our noses. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we will recess to August 8th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and we will convene the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District of Pure Waters Administrative Board.
Item number 1, referral 23-0237, authorize the conveyance of a permanent easement on property owned by the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District to the Monroe County Water Authority for utility purposes at 637 Flynn Road in the town of Greece.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Oh, we will now recess the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The August 8th, 2023 meeting of the legislature is now reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 23-0181.LL, providing that local law entitled Monroe County Fair Chance Employment Act be lifted from the table.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to lift from the table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 23-0181.LL, providing that local law entitled Monroe County Fair Chance Employment Act be adopted.
Moved by Legislator John, seconded by Legislator Smith. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Delahaney. Mr. Delahaney votes yes. Ms. Lovecchio Hoffman. Ms. Lovecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Ms. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris.
No.
Mr. Morris votes no. Ms. Smith. Smith votes no. Ms. Taylor. Taylor votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. Ms. Vecchio. Vecchio votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 20-9, local law passes.
Oh, Legislator Brew.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to move the following items on the agenda as one, with the exception of the following. Item numbers 7, and 8, which is referral number 0190. Items number 9 and 10, which is referral number 0222. Item number 27, which is referral number 0239. Item number 36, which is referral number 0247. Item number 37, which is referral number 0248. And all of the matter of urgencies, which are numbered 38 through 43.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Smith.
I'm going to declare my interest for number 32, which is 23-0244.
Noted.
Hang on, sorry, what was that?
32.
0244, number 32.
Any other discussion? See none, all in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Item carries. Number 7.
Should be on item number 7. Correct?
Yes.
Good to go. Item number 7, referral number 23-0190, providing that resolution entitled authorizing additions to Monroe County Western and Eastern Agricultural Districts be lifted from the table.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Alcoffer. This is to lift from the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 23-0190, providing that resolution entitled authorizing additions to Monroe County Western and Eastern Agricultural Districts be adopted.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Alcoffer. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Colby.
Thank you. I make a motion to amend this, this motion, to strike the second parcel that's listed on the list. It's 135 Pennell Road in the town of Parrington. And I have a second, then I'll explain why. Madam President, I second. As chairman, longtime chairman of the Ag Committee, County Committee, it's been the policy for us not to approve any parcels or recommend any parcels to this board that has been in arrears of the property tax. And at the time this parcel was brought for us back in February, the research showed us that it had current property tax. At a later time, about 2 months ago, it's been made aware that they have back property tax. And so our recommendation would be to strike this parcel at this time because of a lack of paying county property taxes. We were going to strike it at the committee cycle, but we done an outreach to the individual to try to get the person to pay the property tax. I know multiple emails have been sent to the individual, phone calls on return, and we even had a person out to knock on the door with no results. So at this time, I recommend that we delete this parcel at this time until his property taxes become paid in full.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Baines.
I'd like to thank Legislator Colby explanation of the process and know before we vote that the constituent was given every opportunity. I think that that's a very responsible way for us to conduct. Telling us about that. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other discussion? So we are voting on the amendment, correct?
Correct, on the amendment.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment carries. Now back to the original referral. as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 23-0222, providing that resolution entitled approving Monroe Community College's 2023-2024 operating budget be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator Alcoffer, seconded by legislator Smith. This is to lift from the table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 23-0222, providing that resolution entitled approving Monroe Community College's 2023-2024 operating budget be adopted.
Moved by legislator Alcoffer, seconded by legislator Smith and Roman. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, and through you to the administration. I'm not sure if there's any representatives from the colleges here this evening. Yes, okay. Thank you. Hi. I do truly thank you for meeting with us and giving the legislature an opportunity to ask questions with regard to the budget and for all of the outstanding work that you do for our youth at Monroe Community College. But I do have a few follow-up questions in response to a letter that we received. So if you will, please, I'm not sure if do we need to have them come up or? Thank you. So thank you. So we did send a few follow-up questions and thank you for your answers, but they prompted more questions for me. So if you will indulge me, we had asked a question with regard to staffing. And the answer we were given was that there are currently 17 sworn public safety officers and with at least 2 on campus at all times. And my question to you is that 2 on each campus? One at the Brighton campus and one at the or 2 at the downtown campus, 1 at each? I'd just like some clarity on that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Generally, we have 2 officers at the Brighton campus that also will cover downtown, and generally have 1 officer dedicated for downtown. Basically, what we do is, I think some of you may not know, I'm former military. We do risk assessments. Law enforcement, peace officers, we do risk assessments. So basically every day we do a risk assessment and basically in terms of staffing model. And so we have a minimum of 2 that actually cover that, but we may actually have 8 to 10 depending on the risk that we have to mitigate for that day, ma'am.
Thank you. Next question. We had asked several questions about long guns or rifles that would be used in case of an active shooter event. And I pray that that never happens on campus. And the response that we were given, so currently the college does not have that. And I appreciate the answer that you are currently exploring the use of the purchase of or employing rifles or long guns for the public safety officers on campus. And my question to you is, it says we have begun to explore. Is there a time frame that we can look to get answers to that question?
Give me 1 second.
I apologize for that. If perhaps we can follow up in writing that. I didn't mean to ask any questions that would imperil public safety. It certainly was not my goal. So if we could follow up in writing, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I guess I have no further questions. We will follow in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Porter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Thank you.
Item number 27. Referral 23-0239. Authorize intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pittsburgh for collection of residential food scraps as part of Monroe County Food Scraps Collection Pilot Program.
Moved by legislator Heber, second by legislator McCabe and Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, who was that? Legislator McKay. 28-1. Resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 36. Referral 23-0247. Establishing fund balance policy.
Move it, Madam President.
Second.
Moved by legislator Smith, second by legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote. Protecting taxpayers goes far beyond mere fiscal relief spending. It is about safeguarding each hard-earned tax dollar contributed to the overall success of our government. The establishment of a robust fund balance policy is a strategic budgetary plan that will ensure fiscal responsibility for Monroe County. This proposal will allow our local government to navigate the dynamic landscape of changing economic conditions, help combat the changes to state funding, and to be prepared for unexpected disasters. It will be used to ensure taxpayers' funds are being efficiently used, no matter the scenario we may face. Over the past couple of years, we have underscored the significance of such preparedness as we've grappled with the ripples of the inflation, state intervention influencing Medicaid, and other financial streams. We are currently in a time we are still recovering from substantial economic hardship, a supply chain that was destroyed, and business closures. In this context, proactive planning to counter uncertainty has evolved into an essential priority for us. That is why I lend my support to this legislation as it upholds the principle that our tax dollars should never go to waste or be mismanaged, regardless of the challenges that may emerge. This commitment extends far beyond immediate fiscal considerations. It undermines the financial stability of individuals and families, while also empowering the government to tackle the most unexpected scenarios with prudence and responsibility. As we all collectively face the complexities of a rapid changing world, the initiative shows dedication to a secure financial future. As chairwoman of the Ways and Means Committee, I'm proud to support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, legislator Smith. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner Barton.
Thank you. And I'll be going to explain my vote. Purple fund balance policy for some time. State controller does recommend that legislators support policies, and this policy is a fund balance policy, so I support it. However, the discussion around this policy has revealed we have excess fund balance, and we will be immediately out of compliance with this fund balance policy right after this vote. We will have millions of dollars to spend down, and we have no plan to do so. I believe those funds, to the extent possible, should be spent on directly helping members of this community. And as one resident told me, we should spend some money on a new audio visual system for the street. The problem is legislators are not empowered to make proposals independently and must go through the administration, which can, if it wants to, set up any proposal to fail. For example, the administration can set up false choices regarding a source of funds, or just not be responsive. I mean, this is politics, so having to go through the administration to propose legislation on spending down fund balance gives away substantial legislative power.
At Ways and Means, the CFO admitted that legislators don't know how to propose spending money without going through him. And we just gave ourselves a raise. So I think we should learn how to do things on our own like that. Our entire democracy is built on checks and balances and separation of powers. The legislative branch of Monroe County needs substantial operational reforms and likely more resources to function as our charter intends. The legislature right now exists to give up or down votes on the county executive's priorities, not our own. That should change. And I'll be working with community members to do that in the coming days.
Thank you, Legislator Barnhart. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Colby.
Through you, Madam Chairman. We don't have to spend the added dollars. Could we not just lower the property tax going forward for a few years to spend it down in that matter? Is that correct to the administration? Simple question.
Madam President, one of the primary roles of this honorable body is to appropriate funds and to levy taxes. So it is up to this legislature to decide the amount of the tax levy for the ensuing calendar year.
So my understanding through Madam President, that if we desire to keep services the same, but desire not to raise property taxes, the additional funds could come from the money we have in this fund that are over the limit. Is that correct? As an alternative to spending the money outright.
Through you, Madam President, maybe let me take a shot at that, and then maybe Mr. Franklin can weigh in with this. You know, my early years, actually prior to my time in the legislature, the county was flush with cash as a result of the 1% increase in the sales tax. I remember being in private meetings where people were practically high-fiving each other because there was so much money that the county had and that the reserves were flush. And several years after that, I was in the legislature for my first budget, and we ended up voting for a 13% levy increase because all of the reserves were spent. And my reason for saying that is budgeting is as much of an art as it is a science. And I say that as a compliment to CFO Franklin in the job that he does. And you know, certainly as we embarked on the 2020 in our jobs and responsibilities here, all in new positions, and what we faced with COVID and everything, the position that we are in today is something that was completely unexpected. So, you know, and again, our outlook with this is we really need to take a conservative approach with this because, again, I can tell you from personal experience, it was in a matter of 2 or 3 years, the county went from being incredibly flush with cash to having to vote for levy increases. And in the town of Greece, that rate increase was just south of 20%, which would be unimaginable and I think unacceptable to everybody here in this body. And part of the announcement that was made with the fund balance policy was that there was going to be a commitment as part of the 2024 budget that there will not be a tax increase with this. And again, you know, I've heard a lot of different numbers here, and I think there's some misconception as to how much money there is available in the fund balance. it's the $14 million, right? So right now we have, actually, there's so much confusion that I had to check with Director Franklin before I misspoke. The amount that we have is somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 million because a lot of what we've done has already been allocated and spoken for and committed by this legislature. And again, a lot of what we've done with this is really, and again, I think this gets lost in the day-to-day effort. We have made some very significant progress in terms of the hiring. Again, not to rehash all of this, our salaries were abysmal and we were in an incredibly competitive position. And again, you just don't give the significant raises that we've given to our employees and budget that all in 1 year, having the fund balance and again, for Director Franklin to manage that and to appropriate fund balance and to sort of smooth that spike out over a couple of years and allow the county finances to catch up with that is again, I'll just say as much an art as it is of a science. So, you know, we're looking at this as a partnership. And again, we're happy to have a discussion with the legislature in terms of what we do with that. But again, you know, I found previous discussion with this a little frustrating when you know, there was discussion of, well, you know, the administration is an elected official. He's not a king and all of this. The legislature, it was a long time ago, but the legislature did have staff that had a fiscal background and an ability to know what accounts there are. And you know, I've worked for 3 legislative bodies: this body, the Assembly, and the State Senate. And if you look at it, the State Senate and the State Assembly, a very quick path to becoming state budget director is to be the chief fiscal officer in both of those bodies. So it's not uncommon for legislatures to have fiscal staffs with that. And again, I'm not disparaging anybody here. When I worked in this body, we didn't have a strong fiscal staff, and that just wasn't the way it was set up. So again, we're looking to partner with you. And again, that was the intent with which this referral was offered, and the partnership which we're looking to extend to the legislature as we move forward.
So I'll just explain my vote is that as much as we look at spending down the dollars, I also look forward to using this money to maintain our tax rate or tax levy, whichever number you want to use. I know there's a difference, at a low, stable rate going forward instead of spiking our taxes in the future. Thank you. Support that.
Kobe. Go ahead, Legislator Mafucci.
Thank you, Madam President. As a ranking member on Ways and Means, I made these comments at our meeting, and I think they're worth repeating. I commend the county executive, the county budget director, Bob Franklin, their staff, and my colleagues on both sides of the political aisle for this referral. Fund balance is essential for adequate, equitable, and sustainable budgets. This policy will provide the county with an increasing credit rating, helping borrowing costs and taxpayers. It will improve our fiscal stress score because it satisfies the New York State Comptroller's most critical criterion to assess a government's fiscal health. We must be fiscally healthy to deliver the services our residents pay for and expect. I enthusiastically support this referral. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Barnhart.
President, to the administration, after we take this vote, will we be in compliance with this fund balance policy?
Madam President, Technically, yes, and that is why the policy as written calls for a plan for returning the county to compliance.
The president to the administration, do we have a plan?
Madam President, it's kind of a loaded question. I always have a plan. This policy has not yet been voted on. So what I have is a set of recommendations that will be drafted a little more formally and presented to the county executive and the county legislature for appropriate discussion.
Through the president to the administration, that $14 million is in what category of funds?
They would be the unassigned fund balance, Madam President.
The president to Mr. Franklin, at Ways and Means, you affirmed what you told S&P, which was that we had $212 million above our total budget in all balances. Is that correct?
No, Madam President. The 212.3 million in available fund balance is the aggregate of the assigned fund balance and the unassigned fund balance.
Yes, so thank you. That is what I was getting at. And so the $14 million is sort of what you're referring to as money that can be spent on anything. But that's not to say the rest of that money can't be spent on nothing.
Madam President, a slight distinction. The assigned fund balance of $135 million of the 212.3 million is assigned because this county has previously taken actions or had public discussions on what programming or services required funding. So the assigned fund balance are amounts assigned for a specified intent. The unassigned fund balance of 77.3 has already been tapped into by this legislature, Madam President. As I said, this legislature has already voted 5 times to appropriate fund balance for various actions. So of the entire 212.3 million, we've used about 27.7 million through 5 legislative resolutions earlier this year. I explained I wanted to hold or set aside $30 million for a flat tax levy and to offset revenue losses. So after those above resolutions that were voted on and the commitment to hold a flat levy, the remaining available fund balance was 154.6 million, and with a maximum target of $140 million, that's a difference of 14.6 million left for a plan of action.
One final question through the chair to the administration. Do you assume that your plan will be essentially when the budget for 2024 is presented?
Interesting question, Madam President. I did not envision that. No, I envisioned at least a presentation or a discussion ahead of that. That's what I envisioned, Madam President. I can't say it would not be part of a subsequent budget proposal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to the administration, a couple quick questions. I believe in the Ways and Means Committee meeting, an explanation was given for the term all funds adopted budget. I heard the answer, wasn't here. Give a description again of that, please.
Madam President, when we submit to the legislature our annual operating budget for the ensuing calendar year, that is the all funds operating budget. It would include the general fund, debt service fund, internal service fund, Pure Waters funds, hospital fund, several others, Madam President. In general terms, we talk about Monroe County having a $1.3 billion annual budget. That is the all funds budget, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Through you, Madam President, to the administration and probably Mr. Franklin. What is the total amount of money that the county spent in 2022 compared to the adopted budget in December? Difference there, correct? All the grants we received, et cetera.
Madam President, yes, it is different. The budget for any calendar year is prepared in the summer and fall and then voted on by the legislature in the month of December. And as you know, Madam President, this administration brings forward a whole host of legislative referrals to accept awards and other grants that increases our budgeted spending. Plus, we do not budget per charter, Madam President, our sales tax distributions to town, villages, and school districts. So when you read our audited financial statements, Madam President, you'll often see that the expenditures presented in the financial statement look quite a bit different from that in the adopted budget for the year.
Thank you, but Madam President, through you again, I didn't hear an answer to what was our total spend in 2020.
So Madam President, I did not bring the audited financial statements with me tonight, but I'm happy to answer that question tomorrow,
Roughly
Madam
right
President.
Roughly right is fine, Mr. Franklin. Do you have an idea? But plus or minus $100 million of that flag.
Madam President, my hesitation is just to be careful in how I answer because often the question is posed is not consistent with how we present our information because we speak so generally and colloquially about our budget. On a $1.3 billion budget, we probably push $1.7 billion through this county when you include sales tax.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. That's consistent with what I believe you told me before. Just a couple other quick questions. Why are these calculations on the fund?
Madam President, it's annually because we only go through a financial audit once per year and accounting offices and budget offices hold firm to the audited and published fund balance, which is in our financial statements produced once a year. To do quarterly, Madam President, monthly or quarterly, the assumptions we have to make can fluctuate so wildly, especially since such a large revenue stream to Monroe County is sales tax revenue, which without a crystal ball, we never know when a recession may or may not hit and what the spending patterns of our residents may look like.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And through you, Madam President, the administration, that last response drove one last question. If we have a recession hit, let's say, I read the referral, we won't take action to restore the fund balance or press balls that would entail the following budget year. Business that I've ever worked with, and they're immediately start to address their revenue. Actually a plan to do so sooner than the next.
Madam President, if there's one thing this county does well, it is not spend money. I think the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the ability for this county to rein in its expenditures is quite dramatic. At the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone thought the sky was falling, the projected revenue shortfalls, I think we're well north of $100 million, maybe 120 or $140 million, if I recall correctly. This county reined in a whole host of budget freezes, spending reductions. So we demonstrated quite successfully and have had a number of discussions with our rating agencies about our success in reining in our expenses. So that's a long answer, Madam President. The short answer is yes, if the sky were to fall, this county knows through experience how to take actions to rein in spending, and those actions would be much more immediate.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin, and through you, Madam President, I just want to thank you, Mr. Franklin, for your wise fiscal management and oversight that you provided in my almost 8 years in the legislature. I'm darn glad you're our CFO.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead.
Just a quick clarification, what percentage of the budget is from sales tax? Mr. Frank?
Roughly 14%, Madam President.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 37, referral 23-0248, confirming appointment of conflict defender.
Moved by Legislator Dondorfer, seconded by Legislator Milne. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Dondorfer.
To the future potential conflict defender, can you kind of explain to us in a couple sentences what your vision for the public or for the conflict defender's office is?
Thank you, Madam President. I can just first introduce myself. I'm Sarah Holt. I can just tell you, I have been at the office for many years now. I've been under the guidance of Mark Funk, who was the former conflict defender. And I've seen a lot of changes and growth in our office, but I think the two main things that I see for the future is an increase in the quality of representation that we're providing to indigent residents of Monroe County who are in our city and family courts day to day, and the diversity of our staff and the attorneys who are working with those communities. Those are two, I think, of the foundations of, what our office stands for and what we need to continue to focus on. We're doing it well, but we're going to be better. So.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President. I know you said that you've been there for a while. How long have you been a defense attorney?
I have been an attorney for 16 years. I have practiced privately in criminal defense for 2 years, and then I came to the conflict defender's office 12 years ago, and I've worked primarily representing parents in family court in complex child abuse and neglect cases, as well as custody, visitation, and domestic violence courts.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President. The Public Defender's Office has recently shifted many cases to the Conflict Defender's Office. Can you describe how you plan to handle this increase in cases? And do you feel as though your office will be prepared to handle this new caseload?
Yes, it's true. We have taken over primary representation in city court. We have, over the last 3 years, almost tripled in size in terms of the attorneys in our office who are capable of handling those cases. I, we have increased our training and sort of mentorship. We have over some of the attorneys in our office have 30, 40 years of experience. They're able to guide a lot of the younger attorneys into practicing in city court. I mean, we've increased our special investigative paralegal staff. It's really a team effort in terms of how we're triaging these cases, how we are providing primary representation right at the first appearance when somebody is at arraignment. And honestly, Mark Funk has really grown that aspect of our office, but I think in terms of caseload caps and our numbers growing, that our office will also have to grow even more. And so I think we've started that process, and we've really risen to that challenge. And that's going to continue.
Well, thank you for leading into my next question for you then. Obviously, you're growing through you, Madam President. I'm assuming that this is something that you may need to look into a little bit further, but if you do plan on requesting additional staff for upcoming budgets, and do you have a plan in place for diversity, equity, and inclusion in that hiring process?
Yes, well, we currently have a number of positions open. We have, but mainly two openings primarily that we're focusing on in hiring both a city court and a family court attorney. I myself am just getting integrated, I think, in the county's DEI office and program. We are obviously under the public safety umbrella. Director Tantello is, we have our own DEI committee within that public safety umbrella. And, we're really, I'm kind of gathering ideas right now, but what I see us doing more of is community engagement, as well as on-campus recruitments at the various, obviously we don't have a law school here in Monroe County, but we have Buffalo and Syracuse are our feeder schools. They all have career planning services that are focused on diversity candidates and career fairs and things like that. But one of the things that we have here is a real lack of attorneys in Monroe County, particularly attorneys that reflect the diversity of our county. And so recruiting attorneys not only at the law school stage who are considering coming back home to Monroe County or making Monroe County their home, I think is going to be very important, because there's just a lack of diversity here in terms of our attorney and population. So focusing on people who are currently not practicing but are perhaps students or interested in the law can be part of our long-term plan. But for those immediate needs, we do have some things in place. We're just increasing visibility, letting people know what our office is about, and getting out in the community and working with the institutional DEI offices that we currently do have. People that may know a lot more than I do about recruiting, utilizing their expertise and ideas.
Well, I certainly do know that, you have the challenges of salaries along with the district attorney's office and the public defender's office. So I wish you luck in that. And my last question through you, Madam President, is if you are confirmed, you plan on being directly involved in any cases, or are you going to handle the leadership responsibilities of the office?
Madam President, I do plan on focusing right now primarily on the administration and the support of our attorneys. For a while, I was trying to wrap up my own caseload while I was sort of learning that this new responsibility. And it's just not possible. I think right now to do that, my focus really needs to be on supporting our staff and attorneys and those recruitment things that I just spoke about. So I think down the line that may be a consideration, but it's not something that I'm planning on continuing to do. I love the practice of law, but I feel really strongly about being able to be there and be focused for the people that need me and to the community. I mean, my door is always open. I like to be there. I want to be focused on the office right now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for indulging our questions. You're in good hands with Director Tantillo, that's for sure. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 23-0249, confirming appointments to Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation Board.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Johns. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 39, referral 23-0250, confirming appointments and reappointments to Monroe County Recycling Advisory Committee.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Johns. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 40, referral 23-0251, authorizing contract with Benefit Resource for third-party administration of Monroe County's flexible spending account benefit, qualified pre-tax parking program, and health reimbursement accounts.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 41, referral 23-0252, confirming appointments and reappointments to Monroe County Recycling Advisory Committee.
Moved by Legislator McCabe, seconded by Legislator Johns. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Brew.
Thank you, Madam President. This appears to be a duplicate of the previous referral. It is not? Okay.
I believe it's a new one. Oh, wait a minute, 39 and
Two separate referrals.
Gotcha. All set. Thank you.
Same title.
are we all set? One's you know what it is, Legislator Brew? You're all set? Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 42, referral 23-0253, extension of additional 1% tax on sales and uses of tangible personal property and of certain services and on occupancy of hotel rooms and amusement charges pursuant to Article 29 of the tax law of the state of New York, amending resolution number 265 of 1965 as last amended by resolution number 37 of 2023.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to the administration, could you just tell us why this is an MOU, given that the current expiration date isn't until November 30th of 20?
Through the president, if this was not adopted prior to September 1st, we would have to ask for a waiver from the New York State Department of Taxation relative to the implementation date.
Thank you. Excellent explanation. I will yield the floor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 43, referral 23-0254, authorizing acceptance of and payment of healthcare and mental hygiene worker bonuses to Monroe County employees and amending contracts to pay healthcare and mental hygiene worker bonuses to Monroe County contractors.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Jones. He's seconding. Is there any discussion? Did you note that? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Brew.
Thank you, Madam President. This honorable body stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Monroe County Legislature is scheduled for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m.